Breaking injury news here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will be without defensive tackle Calijah Kancey, who has been downgraded to out for Sunday's game against the Washington Commanders. He has an ankle injury. He popped up on the injury report Friday as questionable and was ruled out today. Alongside Calijah Kancey, the Bucs will also be without defensive tackle Logan Hall. He was ruled out on Friday with a foot injury. He also missed practice, so it wasn't a big surprise that he wasn't going to be out there. But between Logan Hall and Calijah Kancey's absence, the Bucs have had to make some moves. As you see on the screen here, the Bucs elevated both defensive tackle C.J. Brewer and Mike Green from the practice squad on Saturday. The Bucs are likely going to be starting Will Golston next to Vita Vea. Greg Vaines is going to be a veteran reserve in addition to C.J. Brewer and Mike Green. Don't forget, on Friday, the Bucs also put defensive tackle Ernest Brown on short-term injured reserve, and they signed defensive tackle Ben Still off the Arizona Cardinals practice squad. So it has been a busy week, a lot of movement for the Buccaneers here along the interior defensive line, and it's going to be a tall task for this Buccaneers pass rush to try and apply some pressure. They're probably going to need some help from the blitz, but when you look at a lot of these guys missing in action here on the interior defensive line, I know a lot of people don't really think Logan Hall moves the needle, but Calijah Kancey's presence is going to be huge. So could be some extra reps this Sunday for Vita Vea, and then looking for those guys, the edge rushers in particular, Yaya Diaby, Anthony Nelson, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, maybe even rookie Chris Braswell, going to need those guys along the defensive line to step up, and maybe they get a little bit of help from guys like KJ Britt, Levante David in the blitz. But now we'll dive into our impact players for week 1, Bucs versus Commanders. Just wanted to give you a quick update on some Tampa Bay Buccaneer injury news.
Today, we're going to be breaking down the players to watch for this week 1 game against the Washington Commanders. A lot of interesting players, and I'm excited to get into it. But first, Rhett, how you doing?
I am doing good, my friend. Opening weekend for the Bucs. They are playing at home. It's been far too long, but ready to watch Baker and the boys go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And our first player to watch is going to be coming on offense, and it is going to be a little bit of a boring one, but it's a trenches one. It's center Graham Barton making his NFL debut this time. And the reason he's a player to watch is because he's going to be going up against some stiff competition in Jonathan Allen and De'Aaron Payne, who are the other side of the football for the Washington Commanders there. He's going to be going up against them a good bit, and it's going to be a big key, I think, in stopping this Washington, not only, as far as running the football goes. I think if the Buccaneers were able to neutralize those two guys, they would have a lot more success of running the ball, but also protecting Baker Mayfield, keeping Mayfield upright, giving him time to find those receivers. So what do you think about Graham Barton and this potential matchup that he has this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, a couple of underrated guys along this Washington defensive line, Jonathan Allen in particular, but just pure unadulterated power, which I think is the perfect kind of defensive lineman for Graham Barton to get his first NFL start against. At the end of the day, we like a lot of what we saw in the preseason with Barton, but, he's still green. Still hasn't had that full speed regular season NFL experience. He'll be starting his first NFL game this Sunday in the regular season. So I think there's going to be a couple of moments in this game where the rookie gets some welcome to the NFL kind of receipts, but I think he'll be ready for it. I think he'll step up to the challenge, and I hope the physicality that we saw from the preseason translates to the regular season, because again, he's playing some dogs, and I think Graham Barton has got the skill set to go out there and be an asset for this Buccaneers interior offensive line, but in particular that run game as well. And I think the ability to run the football this week is going to start and stop with what Graham Barton is able to do here throughout 4 quarters against the Commanders.
Absolutely. And for other player to watch on offense, I'm going to go to another rookie here, which is former Washington wide receiver, Jalen McMillan. So not Washington and the Washington Commanders, Washington like Washington State, but Jalen McMillan, obviously the talk of the town during training camp, preseason, especially with Mike Evans not really playing much, not playing at all in the preseason. Chris Godwin barely playing. McMillan made a heck of a first impression. Now he gets to do it for real this time. And you look at Washington's secondary, and I see a lot of weaknesses there. Michael Davis, Benjamin St-Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes are their top 3 corners. You imagine that Davis or St-Juste will be on Mike Evans as they're 2 bigger guys. If McMillan is matched up against a guy like Emmanuel Forbes, Forbes has talent, but he was really bad last year as a first-round pick as a rookie. And I kind of like McMillan there. So I don't want to do another rookie, but I think McMillan needs to be looked at here as a potential option because so much attention is going to be put on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, even Rashad White in this offense, that I think McMillan could be a guy who, just like Trey Palmer last year, got a touchdown the opening week. I think McMillan could end up finding the end zone potentially here.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's hard to look at a Jalen McMillan matchup this week that you don't like just because of all the playmaking ability the Buccaneers have, especially out of that wide receiver room. Mike Evans, throughout his career, has built a reputation for kind of being a bully to Washington. And, between that and his multiple-year streak of opening weekend touchdowns, I think he's going to be looking to do more of the same. But we know that he's going to garner a lot of attention. Chris Godwin hopefully going to be making a lot of plays this weekend out of the slot. Excited to see what Liam Cohen can do with him in that old new role, if you will, of the offense for Chris Godwin. But, I think it's going to be one of those games where Baker's consistently going to have guys open. Like, I would like to look at the talent level of a Jalen McMillan. And again, I don't want to overhype him coming out of the preseason. I like him a lot. I just think he has the ability to be a guy who can find himself getting wide open when Chris Godwin or Mike Evans might have too much on their plate. And then let's not forget, the presence of a Cade Otton and a Payne Durham. I know they're not the fastest guys on the field, but they certainly made some plays for the Buccaneers receiving group last year as well. So I'm excited for McMillan. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to show us what he's made of this week.
Flipping over to the defensive side of the football, we talked about the cornerbacks for Washington. I want to talk about the cornerbacks for Tampa, and more specifically, a cornerback, which is Zion McCollum, making his basically, I mean, he did play cornerback too at times last year because he was asked to because of injury or whatnot. This is his first, full season though at the helm as the team's number 2 corner. I mean, the team traded away Carlton Davis. They have a lot of faith in Zion McCollum, and he's going to be going against a Washington team with not a ton of receiving talent, at least on the surface, outside of Terry McLaurin there. So I think it's a decent matchup for Zion McCollum, but still somebody who I think it's so good of a matchup that you're hoping you're hoping he looks good, because if he doesn't against these guys, how's he going to look when the competition gets a little bit better, later on in the season? I'm interested to see that. What are you looking for out of Zion McCollum on Sunday?
No, I agree. You look at the wide receiver room for Washington, and they addressed their offense in a couple of different ways over the offseason. They brought in Austin Eckler at the running back position. You brought in Zach Ertz to that tight end room, but again, the wide receiver room outside of Terry McLaurin kind of leaves a bit to be desired here. So you're talking about McCollum potentially matching up with an Olamides, a Zacchaeus, a Noah Brown, a rookie Luke McCaffrey. So I think this is an opportunity for him to kind of step up and eat a little bit here. I think hopefully if he has a strong performance and kind of picks up where he left off in that 2023 season, Bucs fans could feel a lot better about this secondary with Zion McCollum at CB2 and Jamel Dean, hopefully with a strong performance at CB1 if he can stay healthy this year. But yeah, I see no reason why Zion McCollum shouldn't have a strong performance in kind of, I think playing a good wide receiver room for him to get ready for the full speed of an NFL regular season here in week 1.
And then, as we will do every week with our players to watch for that particular week, we have our X Factor of the week, which aligns. I was going to say something about co-aligns, but that really doesn't make sense. It aligns with my article on BucsNation.com, which you can check out right now. I do a Buccaneers X Factor for each matchup, and for this week, I think the Buccaneers X factor of guy that they're going to need to play well in order to win this game, I think it's Lavonte David. And I think it's Lavonte David for one very specific reason. I think Lavonte David is going to be a big key in slowing down Jaden Daniels' running ability. I think that now that Devin White has departed, Devin White was the Bucs' fastest linebacker. He could have kept up somewhat with Jaden Daniels. Now you're going to look at Lavonte David as a guy, I think, to potentially spy on Jaden Daniels and make sure he stays in that pocket. Make sure that you can keep him parallel and that he's not running wild all over the Buccaneers, because if that's the case on Sunday, it could be a long day for the defense. So I think Lavonte David needs to be the X factor here. What are your thoughts about this selection?
I like Lavonte David a lot. I mean, obviously, what is there not to like about Lavonte David at this point? Number 54 has been doing it so long in a Buccaneers uniform that he is the standard of what a defensive player should be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I expect him to pick up right where he left off. But you do make a great point in the fact that, if Washington and Jaden Daniels in particular, if they do a good job of spreading this Todd Bowles defense out, you're looking at Vita Vea, you're looking at Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Cansey having to run to the sideline, or potentially your secondary players having to come down and try and make a tackle, which you never necessarily want. So, yeah, I think the consistency of that linebacker core preventing plays from breaking away into the second and third level, that's going to be huge. And Levante David, KJ Britt as well, going to be getting some healthy action here in week 1. I think both of those guys are going to have a huge hand in what the defense allows Jaden Daniels to do. And if I can throw my own X factor in there as well on the offensive side of the ball here, we talked about Graham Barton earlier to start the video. I'm going to say Rachaad White. On the offensive side of the ball, I think the Buccaneers early on in the season, they want to show that this run game is not what it had been in 2021, 22, and 23. I know Bucky Irving and the rookie running back gets a lot of praise, gets a lot of talk, and a lot of hype coming out of the preseason, but Rachaad White's there for a reason. The Bucs like him too, and he is going to be their running back 1 until he isn't. So I think he has to step up and he has to play well, because if the Bucs give him 20 carries this week and he gives them 55 yards, I don't know how great it's going to be throughout the rest of the season when the Buccaneers try to dictate the pace of the game with the run game. I think they're going to make a clear effort to do that this week, and it starts with not only Graham Barton, but Rachaad White playing his part as well.
Yeah, Rachaad White, definitely somebody that the Bucs will be looking to get going early and often here, not just in this game, but the season overall. But let us know what you guys think. Are you having any particular players to watch that we didn't mention? Who's your X factor for this game? Who do you think has to be the guy in this game for the Buccaneers to win? Always curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go Bucs.